I don't want to say waiting, because I do think you should keep looking for deals. And like I said, continue to follow up. There's still stuff out there, but it's just generally going to be slower, right? You look at how many deals we're getting closed last year, the year before that compared to now. Obviously, it's going to be slower. Take that downtime and really work on the business so that when this market, second that those rates trickle down and this market starts to heat back up, you're ready and you can dominate.
Tim is one of the most authentic and genuine people I've ever met.
I sincerely believe he's coming from a position of giving, and that means a lot.
You're going to make huge progress.
Welcome, everybody, to today's Capital Raising Show. I'm your host, Tim Mai, and today I have an absolutely amazing guest on the line with us. He has been on crazy growth. I can't even imagine the level in which he's running his businesses and the growth that he's having. Mr. Jorge Abreu, he's been in real estate now for 16 years, started with, like a lot of us, in the single family home space, wholesaling, flipping, got into small multifamily and then big multifamily and even new development projects. He runs a construction company as well as a syndication company. His syndication company, Elevate, have now acquired 7,737 multifamily units as the main deal sponsors, and they have gone full cycle and exit out of 1,600 of those units. Currently have over $550 million asset under management, and they have raised over $120 million for these deals. His goal is to reach 10,000 units doors by the end of this year. And knowing their track record, knowing how fast they can scale, I'm pretty sure they're going to get there with closed eyes. And so, super excited to interview George here. So, George, welcome, buddy.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you. I'm excited to be on here. Thanks for having me. Obviously, we've known each other for a while, and just excited to be here.
Awesome. Yes. So let's start out. You can share with everybody a little bit about your journey, especially what got you into the syndication space.
Okay. So how I found my way into syndications.
Yeah.
I guess, you aged me here with the 16 years in real estate. Still sounds weird when I hear it, but feels like it was the other day. But studied to be an electrical engineer. While I was studying to be an engineer, I knew I didn't want to be one, just good at math. And I ended up going down that path, but I knew I wanted to be a business owner. At that time, I wasn't sure it was real estate, but as I kept reading up on successful individuals, and there was one thing that was common, which was either they had made their wealth through real estate or they had made it another way, but then taken a lot of that and grown it through real estate. So I told myself, okay, I'm going to be a real estate investor. And I had no idea how to do that. So ended up getting my real estate license, my mortgage broker license, then realized I didn't need any of that. Finally hired a coach that showed me how to do it. I started wholesaling some deals. I started doing some fix and flips, some seller financing, like you name it, in the single family space. I started doing all of that. I at that time quit my W-2, so I had started working for UPS in the engineering department. Started doing enough real estate where I was like, okay, that's it, I'm done. And that was about 16 years ago. And then I always wanted to, my goal was to scale. Every year we were doing more and more and more. I started the construction company to help scale, right? I couldn't find enough contractors to do, at least not enough good contractors. And that worked. So, but at some point, so probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I felt like I had hit a brick wall and I couldn't scale it anymore. We were doing 100 plus wholesale deals while doing 50 to 60 fix and flips and some new construction projects as well, adding on second stories and additions. So I mean, it had gotten, the hotter the market got, the more creative we got, essentially, to add that value. Around the same time that I was just like, man, how do I do this? How can I possibly, I want to be working on the business, not in the business. And that's when I learned about syndications and buying large apartments. Before that, I looked at the large apartments and I'm like, gotta have a ton of money. You got to put millions down to be able to own one of these, without realizing that you can syndicate it, bring investors together, and take it down as a team. I did the same thing. I hired a coach, right, to speed up that process. And I put all my focus towards large multifamily syndications at that point, because I knew that's where I wanted to be. I knew that was the key to scaling. I sold whatever single family I had and anything I had going on with single family and put all my focus there. And that was, like I said, 6 or 7 years ago. And goal is to continue to grow, like you mentioned. You know, I don't know if we're going to hit that 10,000. This year's been a little rough with the market. You know, we've been able to find some good deals here and there, but it definitely has been difficult, to say the least.
Gotcha. And then in terms of your journey into the syndication space, like, did you have, you know, a friend or someone that inspired you that way? Like, you saw something that sort of triggered that for you?
I did. On the construction company, we do third-party work as well. So we were working with other investors. I actually started making the change on the construction company before I even did on the investing side. I started doing more multifamily renovations, more tenant build outs, like in the commercial space. It was easier to deal with that client versus a single family investor. Because there were some investors that I ran into and it was just, their expectations were this high and they wanted to pay this much. And anyways, so
Welcome to the construction world, right?
right. So in that, you know, I found that little niche, and then talking with one of my clients, he started to explain to me how he had acquired the property. And I mean, this was a 200 plus unit apartment, and he was telling me how he syndicated it and that whole process. And that's what kind of triggered, like, okay, I need to look into this. Like, this makes sense. And then that's when I looked up and, you know, I found a coach and spent about a year just educating myself, because it's a big difference going from single family to multi, completely different approach and business and everything.
Right. Yeah. I mean, 7 years ago, it's great timing too. You definitely got to ride that wave up for sure. Share with us, what does your on the syndication business side, what does your business model look like, and what's your team structure looks like?
So team structure, I'm sort of dedicated to high level vision, you know, making sure we're all going the same direction and towards the same goal, and then maybe throw in some acquisitions in there too. And we do have a director of acquisitions that pretty much all they do is analyze and acquisitions. We've got a director of asset management that runs our existing portfolio, make sure that we're performing on there and executing the business plan. I've got one of my partners that's the COO. So, you know, the day-to-day operations, making sure everything's running there. We've got another partner that's our CIO. So he runs anything and everything to do with the equity. We've got investor relations that's under him, constantly speaking to our investors, existing and new. Actually, Ken can tell you, we were on a webinar earlier today and showing one of my deals that's live right now. And somebody on the webinar, you know, put in their information, and 2 seconds later, investor relations was calling. And they were, so it was nice to see that the team was doing their job. Somebody that helps on marketing. So, you know, full-time VA, they've been with us for years, do a lot of the marketing stuff. And then the construction team. So that's another, I think we're at 10 or 12 right now, employees on the construction side. And then we just started but a little bit more. We just started the in-house management last year, brought in a couple partners to really run with that. So I've got a CEO and a COO on that end.
That's the property management. Is that correct?
Correct. So we don't have our entire portfolio is not in our management company yet, but we've been slowly taking over that. You know, it's for that scale and that control. It's looking at our properties that we manage versus the third party. I mean, you can see night and day.
Wow. Okay. So you are pretty much fully vertically integrated now. You're between your construction company and now your property management company. Your construction company, do you guys still do third-party work anymore? Or is it all focused on projects that you are involved in these days?
We do still do some third-party stuff. We get to be a little picky on who we work with and whatnot. So that's nice. Yeah, especially now when things have slowed down a bit. For the last few years, you know, we were so busy with our own properties that we did some, but very little. Now it's kind of maybe 60-40.
Gotcha. Okay. You had mentioned that, you know, your goal is to get to 10,000 units, multifamily units this year. but this year is a little bit slow for multifamily. Have you considered going out of multifamily, maybe self-storage or other asset types?
All the time, man, all the time. We get asked all the time. We get things brought to us. I think one of the reasons we've been successful and we've been able to grow, decent sized portfolio is because we've stayed pretty focused. I think there's a lot of noise out there, a lot of different real estate. I'm not saying I won't ever do anything outside of multifamily. Just right now, we're really focused on the multifamily. We know it in and out with the construction, with the management. So for right now, we're going to stay focused with multifamily. The fundamentals are extremely strong, even with everything that's going on. So yeah, I will say that storage somewhat interests me. Mobile home parks, somewhat. RV parks, somewhere there. I'll probably end up doing some of that.
Okay. And then on the multifamily side, I see a lot of your properties. They're pretty nice. So are you going after just A's and B's, or like what classes of multifamily and where in the country are they?
Yeah, in the last couple years, we've kind of made that transition. We started off with the uglier the better, with the construction arm and everything. We weren't scared to go into these heavy lifts. At some point, the spread just got so thin between a C-class value add deal compared to maybe not an A+ class, but an A class, nice looking property, that it didn't make sense. But financially, to me, it just did not make sense. And I have not seen the pricing on those C-class products come down enough for me to get excited. I'm not saying we won't do it at all. If somebody comes to me with something that I feel is a really low basis and there's a lot of value there to add, we'll definitely do it. We did close last year on some hotels that were converting to multifamily. Those are C, maybe B. I mean, they're going to be B class when we're done for sure. But yeah, so to your point, most of the stuff we've been doing now is A class. We found a really good niche, going straight to the developers on a lot of these deals, and their rents are under market. So we're just stepping in and managing them and really pushing the rents, adding some other income, some things that we've done on the other properties that we know will work, and not spending a whole lot. And yeah, we've been very successful with it.
That's awesome. So when you say developers, so are they like some of these, obviously it's new ground up development, correct? And so they are almost complete, and then you come in and help them finish it off, or what's the role that you play, versus them once you step in?
Yeah, I mean, we've come in all different stages. We've come in where we're literally just buying it as soon as they get the certificate of occupancy, and then we do the lease up and we take that risk. So we get it at a lower price to make up for that risk, or where they have it leased up, but we know they have it under market rents and they're just not pushing, because most developers, not all of them, I mean, there's some larger ones, have a management arm and, they're good managers, but most of them are not good managers. They just want to build it, get their money out, and go to the next one. So on those, we've bought several where it's maybe 90%, it's stabilized, but the rents are low. So we'll come in, do that. We've done some from the ground up where we'll team up with the landowner and actually build it, right? We've got two large ones and then two smaller ones now. I think that's about it. No, there's one that we bought that wasn't quite during the lease up. So I think it was maybe 70 or 80% occupied. I can't remember. So it wasn't quite stabilized yet. So we came in and finished off the lease up and also bumped.
Right. Okay. Share with us, we're going to switch gear a little bit, talk about capital raising. Share with us your very first syndication raise. How was that? What challenges did you go through and how did you overcome that?
Oh boy. So making that transition from single family to multi, I mean, that was the biggest thing. I had not raised equity. We were either using our own funds or we had a couple private lenders, but right off the bat, they told us they weren't interested in multifamily. So first deal, we didn't have to raise any equity. We partnered with somebody that had raised equity. We did everything else, and they pretty much brought the equity and they signed on a loan because they had the experience. On the second one, it was supposed to be the same structure, but they had too much on their plate. So kind of a few weeks into the deal and already having it under contract, they told us, hey, we can't raise the equity here. So luckily at that point, I had started doing what I needed to do to create our investor list. We had a CRM. I had been gathering information and speaking to investors. I just hadn't put anything out there yet. And I felt like I wasn't ready, but I put it out there and we're able to raise, it was right under $1 million. I mean, it wasn't a huge raise. We were able to do it. So the proof of concept was there. So that was nice to get past that mentally more than anything, that mindset. Yeah, and that was it. From there, I think the next one, we raised a couple more million, and then it's kind of just gone up from there.
Wow. Okay. Have you ever gotten to a deal and perhaps the raise was really big or something where you're like, oh man, I have no idea how we're gonna be able to pull this one off, but I'm just gonna go into it anyways and yeah, see where it goes. So have you ever experienced one of those deals?
Every deal we do. No. No.
Because some of your raises are pretty big. I mean, I can
I mean,
imagine.
most of them at this point are at the 20 million plus. We just finished a
Wow.
$30 million one.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, looking at those, right, it's kind of scary, especially when you're, the one we've got right now, we've got $1 million in deposits, and it's a $20 million raise. But there's always a plan, right? There's always a plan and a path of how to get there. Just there's a lot of backup plans too, because if you guys have raised equity before, it doesn't always play out the way you think it's going to from the beginning.
Right. No kidding, right? Yeah. So share with us, some of the things that you found worked well for you when it comes to capital raising. Could be, some of the marketing strategies or some of the channels that you guys liked a lot.
So social media is huge for so many reasons. Obviously, I mean, I think everybody knows that. I don't think everybody does it, and I get it. I will tell you that I am the biggest introvert. Like I mentioned, I mean, I studied engineering. I'm mainly a numbers guy, but I push myself every day, right, to get out there and put myself out there. And when it comes to raising equity, I mean, it's kind of hard to do that without putting yourself out there and adding value to others. So I think one, getting over that quickly, and then putting, as far as the different social media platforms and whatnot, I mean, crap, they just need to follow you, Tim. Do what you're doing. I mean, you do great on there, but always be recording content. Right now, I've got my phone sitting in front of me, recording me saying this, and this will be chopped up into different sections of content. Whenever you're at a property, touring a property, or if it's one of your properties, like, do content, it's a must, right? It's a must to grow your company. As you grow, the more systems you can put into play to do that, the better, right? My VA takes like this video right now that I told you I'm recording, right? That automatically goes to my Google Photos. He has access to my Google Photos. So any picture, any video I take on my phone, he automatically has it. I don't have to say anything. He sees it. He starts editing it. Those kind of things is what helps you scale. But before you even get there, you need to put yourself out there first, right? I think one thing that we've noticed is that a lot of beginners will put content out there that's more related to other investors, that are more beginner investors. Like you're explaining how to do a syndication, or you're talking to the wrong audience. You need to be talking to investors, who wants to be passively investing versus another active investor. And I see it time and time again. We were making that mistake for a while, and we've changed that focus now, and we've seen that work. As far as the different platforms, I mean, I think Facebook and LinkedIn are a must. I know a lot of our leads come from those two platforms. Instagram, I think I'm finally getting more from there, but it takes a bit more on Instagram. TikTok, I don't know. I can't figure out TikTok, but I'm still trying. And then now Threads, I would definitely jump on that. Whenever you have a new platform, it's kind of open, right? Even though this one got filled real quick with a lot of users, there's still going to be some openings for somebody that goes in there and puts out a lot of good content. And other than that, I think going to events and meeting people in person is huge. I would say the chances of them investing with you after versus them meeting you in person and them meeting you over the phone or Zoom are much greater. And don't only go to the real estate events. I mean, go to events where your investor avatar is going to be at. So You know, if you're going after dentists, let's say, go to an event where there's a bunch of dentists or whatever it is. Those are going to be the best events. Now, it's going to be a little harder. You're going to definitely have to network and get out there, you know, versus going to a real estate event where it might be a little bit easier. But if you really want to grow your investor base, I highly suggest doing that.
So talking about, you mentioned Avatar. Who is among your favorites investor avatar? Is it a group? Is it a type of profession that they're in, or an age group, or like who do you go after the most, and whether or not that's the same person as the person that you like the most as your avatar?
Can't tell you that, Tim. No, I'm just kidding. No, we have a lot of success with business owners, or more than just business owners that have exited a business. We haven't quite figured out how to really target that. I mean, some things that come to mind, I guess I haven't put enough time into figuring out how to target that, but some of our best investors are just that. You know, they've exited some business, they've got a good chunk of money, and those are the ones that are putting 500,000 to $1 million with us versus the 100,000.
Nice.
Which I like the 100,000 investors too, but the big ones make it a little bit easier. As far as profession, don't really have a niche there, and that's on us. I mean, I think really targeting a profession is good, especially if you relate to them, right? Like if you're a doctor or you're in the medical field, 100% you should be targeting that medical field, and you should know where they all hang out, right? And what different events you can go to.
Very cool. Yeah. Just to add on what you're saying is that sometimes your profession doesn't have to be a profession that you're in necessarily. I've been doing a lot of researching on the different Facebook ads that people in our industry run. You know, Neil Bawa is someone that I study his ads a lot. Yeah. He's heavily going after the physicians, market, and he's not a physician himself, but yeah, a lot of his languaging is speaks to the doctors and the
He's
medical.
actually the first I've seen do that.
Yeah.
Go after a niche that he's not in, which he's a smart guy. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's, and this is tip for all of you guys. If you want to check out, like looking at the ads, Facebook has this thing called the ad library. And so you search for either and you want to do both. Like I see Neil runs ad under both his personal name as well as under Grow Capitus, which is his company's name. And so you want to search both of those names to see what kind of ads they have and their messaging.
We haven't done ads ever, and we just started our campaign about a month ago.
Okay.
So it's been going good. Just trial and error on some of the ads that we're putting out there.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I mean, Neil is definitely someone for you to connect with. Reed Goosen is another great person for you to connect with. He runs a ton of ads, both for educational ads, to just educate without any deal specific. And then whenever he has a specific deal, he runs a lot of ads to specific deals as well. You see like the top companies that run ads, you see that they run ads for both types. One for list building, general list building that's always going on, and one that's specific to the deals that they're raising money for. A lot of and I see all kinds of ads. And the cool thing about ads, guys, once you opt in for one or sign up for someone's webinar, Facebook will show you a lot more. And I did it, and I get hit up with I have to use a different phone number because all these investor relations people are like reaching out to me. I'm like, I was just trying to study your ads. Let's you guys definitely want to opt into people's ads. Don't just look at it, because when you engage with it, Facebook will show you a lot more.
I want to see their funnel too.
Yeah, for 100%.
On what they're doing for their funnel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, talking about funnels, what does your funnel look like? What software system do you use?
Yeah, so I was going to mention that too, because I mean, I think that's huge. Once you start putting yourself out there and you start hitting up all these platforms, you've got to have a way to take all that information in, right? Use ActiveCampaign to as our CRM/email marketing. I like that it does both of those pretty well. Anything and everything that is synced to ActiveCampaign. So if you fill out one of our forms on our website, or you go to one of our meetups, and you sign up through Eventbrite or through meetup.com, all of that gets funneled into our ActiveCampaign. Then it gets tagged depending on where you came from. And then depending on how you get tagged, then you'll go through a certain funnel or a certain drip campaign. And yeah, we've got one that educates pretty much. If you're somebody that's new to us, new to Elevate, then you'll get our just basic education drip campaign. So we'll be sending, weekly emails, just kind of explaining what we do, who we are and whatnot. Then, if we've got a deal that comes live, depending on how you've been tagged, you'll start getting some of those things. And yeah, the more you use those automations and whatnot, the better. We've got text message for certain things. So I don't think we got it down perfect, but we're almost there.
Right. Yeah, no, you guys are phenomenal. I see some of you, because your raises are pretty big, you take on co-GPs and stuff. What's the biggest size of co-GP you've ever had in one single raise, one single syndication?
Yeah, that's a good question. Private equity, just a co-GP that came in and raised, I want to say maybe around 5 to 6 million, around there.
No, that's in dollar amount. I'm talking about in the number of people.
Oh, the amount of co-GPs we've had on a single deal?
Yeah.
Oh man, we don't usually have that many. Max maybe 6 or 8.
Okay, that's not a lot. Okay. Gotcha. Do you happen to know what the limit is? Yeah, that the SEC would have on something like that?
I don't know if there's a limit to that. That's just depending on how you structure it, and if you're just adding them as members to the management entity, or I don't know. I think SEC would question more their role than anything, but I don't know if they would question how many members you had in your entity.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds good. Do you have a fund yet, or planning to have one?
Glad you asked. No. We're rolling out with one pretty soon. I actually have the paperwork in my email there to review from our attorney. So yeah, we'll probably be marketing something in the next week or so.
Oh wow, very soon. What kind of fund is it?
So we're gonna do a debt fund. So we're gonna keep it at a straight return. It's gonna be with a current and an accrued rate on there. It's gonna be somewhat open on what type of assets multifamily for sure, but then a little open on how we use it. I don't have it all laid out yet, if you can't tell.
So is it so it's not a blind pool fund for your multifamily deal. It's a debt fund, and then that fund invests into your multifamily deals. Is that correct? Or that fund lends money to your multifamily deals? No? Lend or invest?
Invest.
Okay.
But it's structured more like that.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand. Okay, that's pretty cool. And I guess share with us insights into what made you decide to set up the fund, and how big is it?
No idea yet.
No idea yet. All right. What made you decide to go with that fund route?
Oh man, we've been talking about it forever. So I think we finally have the staff, I feel, to kind of handle a fund. I want to make sure we do it right. If we do it and we manage all of our investors at a high level. So I think we're finally there as far as staff goes. And then the goal is to do some pretty large funds, get some pension funds, go direct to insurance companies, like get some really big check writers. But to get to that point, we need to have the track record, not necessarily in multifamily, we've got that, but more in managing a fund. So this one's probably going to be fairly small, the first one, and kind of build up that track record, maybe do a couple more, and then go for $100 million fund. I don't know.
Gotcha. That's good. Yeah, I have a fund. He does land subdivide, buy like big tracts of land, and he set up a debt, instead of doing syndications like a lot of people do in the multifamily space. He set up a debt fund, and his debt fund, then he used that to do the land development. So he's just paying them a fixed rate, and he gets to keep all of the upside of the equity. And so, yeah, I can imagine you going down that route, and You guys, with the amount of deals that you guys do, that extra equity is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even if it's not the full equity in the deal, right? If it just comes in
Right.
for a portion of it, then it just makes the returns for the other investors that much better.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. You got in real estate in general right before the last market crash, and you've been really active. Where you see this market's coming, and how are you preparing yourself to take advantage of it?
I want to say I started investing maybe '06. So for a couple of years, we rode the market up before 2008. Kind of saw that coming. I don't want to say I knew it was going to happen the way it happened, but these markets are pretty similar, right? Like when the market just starts getting so hot, and you've got everybody becomes an investor all of a sudden, and
Yep.
you've got all these gurus popping out of everywhere. Back then it was more single family. It wasn't this craziness in multi. So I kind of saw that coming, and we exit those 1,600 units. That was on purpose. Trying to time the market and then reposition some of the other deals. To your question, where do I see this market and where we're at right now? What I know is I do know that everything after '08 and the market crashed, I kept buying real estate. It was not easy. A lot of it was self-funded at that point because the lenders were disappeared for a bit, but I was able to get stuff really, really cheap. I bought up as much as I could at that time, and everything I bought back then did great, beyond great, right? So I think we're getting there. I think there's some good deals out there. I think there's going to be more good deals out there. I think the hard part is going to be structuring it. And if you can figure out how to get some good debt on there, be able to raise the equity that you're going to have to raise, because it's going to be more than you usually have to, or more than you had to before. I don't want to say usually. Then those deals are most likely going to do really well. Now, I'm not asking you to go overpay for some stuff, because there's 80% of the stuff I see right now, I think they're asking too much. But I do think if you hustle and you grind it out, and you're really good with your follow-up and just locating deals, there's some out there. I don't think there's going to be this massive wave of multifamily foreclosures. I could be wrong. I do think there is going to be distressed deals for sure. I just don't know how public a lot of that's going to be, or how easy it's going to be to get in front of that. If you got some connection with lenders and whatnot, I would definitely go that route and make sure that they know, hey, if you end up taking over some deals or you need help, like, I'm here, I can make it happen. But yeah, I would say, everybody was saying hold and wait till 2025. I still kind of feel like that's true. If you've got some deals right now that you're having trouble with, or just in general, like if you can position them through this till 2025, I think you should be good. Yeah. And right now I'm just excited about rates possibly stabilizing, possibly. We'll see.
Right. Yeah, it's the market, that's the thing about the market. Like, nobody really has a crystal ball, right? We wish we do. But
And the market panics when there's a lot of unknowns whole year, right? That's what we've had. And
Yep.
some of last year, or all of last year, I don't know, it's all
Right.
blending in together now.
So with this market uncertainty, and you had mentioned that you do have to work harder now to raise money than you did before. Have you guys been doing anything different, or are you just getting on the call with more people? Like, what raising or reaching out to investors differently now than you were, say, last year?
We're running ads, like I mentioned. We had never run ads before. So now we're doing online marketing, paid online marketing. We've got a full-time investor relations that's literally on the phone 24/7 talking to investors. I'd say those are probably the two major differences. The rest is somewhat the same. Yeah.
Right. So for someone new coming into this space, let's say you're brand new to this industry now. Okay.
Great timing.
You're great timing. Yes. You're brand new. It's scary, what would you say to this brand new person, and how would you do it? How would you do it if you were to coming here brand new this year?
Yeah. So I'm not being sarcastic when I say great timing. I really do think it is a good time. You got a lot of what was called investors kind of leaving. And to me, I think it's a good time to enter, but I think your focus, you kind of see this as maybe a little bit of a downtime. I would be focusing a lot on building the relationships, putting together your team, putting together your systems, your processes. And I don't want to say waiting, because I do think you should keep looking for deals. And like I said, continue to follow up, and there's still stuff out there, but it's just generally going to be slower, right? I mean, you look at how many deals were getting closed last year, the year before that compared to now, obviously it's going to be slower. Take that downtime and really work on the business so that when this market, second that those rates trickle down and this
Right.
market starts to heat back up, you're ready and you can dominate.
Right. Yeah, for sure. This is a great time to start reaching out to your investors, start educating them, warming them up. Yeah, this is definitely a great time for that.
Take the brokers out for lunch, and they don't have much to
this
do
is
right
when
now.
exactly.
Before you couldn't get them on the phone. I mean, now they don't stop calling me. So, I mean, it's a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Like both on the broker side and also on the lending side, on the lender side
Yeah.
too. So it is definitely a great time. George, you've been awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all this information. If the folks want to reach out to you, to connect with you, learn from you, invest with you, where would you like to send them?
My website's got a bunch of information and a bunch of free content. If you go to elevatecig.com, if you need a general contractor, jntconstruct.com. And if you're looking for a coach, it's my name, jorgeabreu.com. So yeah, reach out. Actually, if you guys, I got a treat for you. If you go ahead and email me, george@elevatecig.com, I'll send you an arsenal of free content, and I have all types of checklists and different forms. Just
Very
let me know
cool.
that you heard me on this podcast or webinar.
Very cool. Thank you for that. And just to double check, all of your raises are 5 or 6C. Is that correct? Do you still do any more Bs?
So this last one, we actually just did the B to C.
Okay.
We opened it up as a B. We took in, some of the Bs, closed out that part, and made it a C.
Gotcha. Okay. That seems to be a very popular strategy lately.
I like it. I mean, we've been doing nothing but C's for a while, and we always get, the investors that aren't accredited and they want to invest. So this gives us a way to get them in.
Right. Yeah. And they know too, it's gonna quickly become a C. So if they want to come in, they come in now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely has that sense of urgency. For sure. Awesome. All right, George, thank you so much for doing this interview with me today. I learned a ton. Love chatting with you. Love interviewing you. Always love learning from you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tim.